Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Holy cow, it's been forever. And if you don't remember us, you will know that we are the No Name Cinema Society. And I'd like to welcome you, our faithful and loyal audience, to our 33rd episode. It's been 45 days, our longest ever in between episode. I'm one of your hosts, Jonathan Betzler. I've got other hosts that I'll introduce you to momentarily here. First, I want to show you my Giants hat. My special Giants hat. My hair's other side. Hair's popping out the back here. It's a fitted hat, so I'll explain that in a second. But I'm representing because this is the only team I've got left in the playoffs. They play on Wednesday night. The baseball playoffs start tomorrow night, and sure, Jay Money will have a lot to say about that. Speaking of which, here are my co-hosts. Let's start with Jay Money. Very excited baseball fan, I know.
So baseball's still going on?
And this is Dave Joseph. How are you, David?
Doing well.
David, you've had a rough month, and I don't want to put it all on you, but you are the reason why we are 45 days late. What do you want to say about that?
It's good to be back. It's good to be back.
Do you want to tell us about how difficult things?
No.
The audience, they're dying to know, and he denies them. But anyway, yes. So Davey had a rough month. I was working a lot too, and we had to reschedule. My files for this episode all say August 29th. That's how long ago since we've been able to do this. And we're here to talk about Hands of Stone, which is one of 3 boxing movies that are being released this year. It's the second boxing movie we've done. We did a movie called Southpaw, episode 14.1, last, I think it was July of 2015. And there's this movie. There's a movie about Chuck Wepner, in which Ray Donovan, what's his name? Liev Schreiber plays a boxer, and also Bleed for This, which is just opened in Toronto, or just played the Toronto Film Festival, starring Miles Teller. And already the buzz is Oscar nomination for Miles Teller. We'll see if these guys feel like Hands of Stone is worthy of any of that level of praise. But boxing is back in, Davey Joe. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I mean, I like boxing movies. This maybe tests the theory a little bit, but I do like boxing movies.
You like boxing movies, not just boxing.
Oh yeah, nobody watches boxing anymore.
Okay, when
it's
I
all
first heard you,
UFC now, man. It's all UFC now.
It's all UFC. Interesting. Wasn't there going to be a fight between the UFC guy and not Evander Holyfield? Wow, I'm wrong generation. Floyd Mayweather. Aren't they supposed to fight some?
No. That
McGregor
was
and never happened.
And Floyd. No, that's not happening.
All right, but it was talked about, right?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. And I had a question for Jay Money, but I just lost it. Yeah. Anyway, never mind. Hey, Jay Money, do you want to see what else we're doing tonight?
Yeah. What else are we doing tonight?
Funny that you asked that, because I've got our schedule. Oh, that's not the right schedule.
Yeah.
Oh no, did I send you the wrong one?
That is entire. No, not necessarily. Let me see here.
Yeah.
It's possible on 8/29. So let's see. Time schedule. Those are great shows. Here we go. It's the right schedule, everybody. How do you like that?
There we go.
I do things right. So we're starting off the evening right now to talk about Hands of Stone, which is kind of exciting. And then at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific, we're going to talk about a documentary. We haven't done too many of those. I think this would only be our second one. And it's a documentary called The Interrupters. And then at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock, are going to do The King and I, which is one of the films that I saw at the TCM Film Festival this year. Those of you that follow me on Twitter might know about this. Perhaps you were aware that I saw The King and I, and now we're going to be eventually talking about it. And then sound off. Davey's going to have a diatribe. I'm going to have the top 5 Rodgers and Hammerstein movies, in keeping with our King and I discussion. And seeing that there have only been 9 total Rodgers and Hammerstein movies, then it's going to compromise 56% of their output, at least filmically. And also a second run film, which is when one of us hadn't seen that we eventually come around to seeing again and reopen that discussion. That's all on the sound off our fourth segment. So we got a long night ahead and only like 15 more minutes to talk about Hands of Stone, but somehow I'm okay with that. Oh, the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is, I don't know if you guys have seen this. I think our audience has, but I've been doing vlogs lately. Since it's been so long in between shows, I've been doing vlogs to sort of bridge the gap. And I'm live on set, and or when I host screenings or whatever. I don't know if you guys have been aware of these vlogs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've been watching them.
Oh yeah.
You've been watching them, have you?
I even retweeted. What are you talking about, man? Come on.
Just because you retweet them doesn't mean you watch.
And also, the one like that they all have, that's me.
Actually, if you relook, you'd find that they all have more than one like at this point.
All right. Yeah, well, I have 2 names.
Oh, I appreciate your support. J Money, what do you? This is my question. What are you drinking, by the way?
I'm still in beer season, so I am drinking some IPA while it lasts before I switch to the more serious. There you go. The more serious winter beverage choices. So cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Chink.
What is that?
Oh,
what are you drinking?
You got beer in a wine glass. So.
Well, I am very civilized. So.
And Drunk Davey is drinking, but he's too shy to let you guys know.
This is a Dasani sparkling water.
Yeah.
Lime. It's excellent.
That's a prop. There's nothing. There's vodka in that glass, ladies and gentlemen. Don't let him fool you. So anyway, let's start talking about Hands of Stone. And I will start with a summary. You guys ready?
Yep. Do it.
Yeah.
All right. So Hands of Stone is about Roberto Duran, Panamanian boxer. He's a world-class boxing trainer played by Marcel's, the character played by. He comes out of retirement to work up becoming Panamanian talent, Roberto Duran. Arcel is able to transform him from a scrappy, American-hating youth to a world champion welterweight boxer. But winning the title only complicates things for this gifted but immature and volatile Duran. That's his name. Now, it's funny because Jay Money and I watched this opening weekend, but one of the issues that we had is Davey got really busy with work that he didn't want to talk about, and didn't get to see it, and couldn't do the show, and we had to postpone it 1 week, and then all of a sudden postpone it a month, and then postpone it another week. We were talking about doing it last week. Jay Money and I were really concerned that we were the only ones that were going to be able to watch the show. By the time Davey got around to being able to see it, was out of theaters. But Davey, you've got a little story to tell.
I mean, there's a discount theater in Matthews, North Carolina that started showing it on Friday, so I went and saw the movie. $3.
So that's just in the nick of time. And while Jay Money and I are looking forward to the opportunity of having a discussion without you, we're glad you could be part of this now. Since you're the one who's seen it the most recently, why don't you tell us your opening thoughts?
I just think the movie is terribly unfocused, and I think that there were definitely some threads that you could maybe make a movie about. It just kind of jumps all over the place, so it's definitely definitely not that great.
What do you think?
Brutal?
Does that qualify, or is that?
I'd say too bright. Too bright.
Right.
Too bright.
Right.
Okay, so it's also it is in addition to all those other things, it's also poorly shot and is having trouble finding that. Where is it?
Yeah, we might need to amend the Davy scale. We might need to figure out a category we might need to amend the Davy scale to have like just.
Oh no, it's so good. The too bright thing cracks me up every time. Too bright for Hands of Stone. J Money, what are your opening thoughts?
Well, I think that this movie was a contender for my worst of the year list. Probably right at the top.
Interesting. All right. And I would say it's funny because I brought my ex to go see it, and she really liked it, and she was kind of annoyed at me that I did not. But yeah, no. It's pretty awful. I would say another sprawling. Unfocused was also. I also wrote down the word unfocused, Davy Joe. You might have stolen my script from 6 weeks ago. It's been so long since I worked on this script I'm rediscovering my thoughts on the movie. Yeah, another sprawling, unfocused biopic. Unfocused is where I want to start, and in terms of structure. I mean, like, because the screenplay is the real quote unquote villain here. It just covered too much ground. I mean, that's my personal perspective. Would you guys agree with that statement?
Yeah.
Okay, Jinx, Davy Joe, dig on it.
I think that it definitely did, and I'm not entirely sure why they chose to focus on the trainer, on Ray, and then kind of neglect his character. It was just odd. It was just oddly.
It's strange because I actually thought he was the most interesting thing. What bothered me is when they got into like Ray's past with the mob and John Turturro and all that other stuff.
Right. I mean, any of these things could have been its own movie, but that's not what they did.
Right, and I mean the other issue is, I mean, I think this is what you're getting at, but also like the shifting perspectives, because we see Roberto's perspective, and then there's Ray's perspective, but also like randomly in the middle of the movie, there's also Sugar Ray's perspective. Like, you know, in this movie, like even if it is about Ray and Roberto, like I can see cutting back and forth between both of them, but like why are we inside the house of Sugar Ray Leonard, especially midway through the movie? Like we should only have seen him through the eyes of Ray and Roberto, which is not to say that he needed to be a villain character, but I mean, like these private moments that he has with his wife in a scene like this, it was a harsh left turn. I mean, like I don't think he needs to be by that made him more sympathetic. Otherwise, I think we could have understood his perspective when his wife was insulted without cutting to this scene, which it feels like a big momentum killer and just like a sloppy mistake. You look like you were nodding, Davy Joe.
Well, you know, the funny thing is that I think they're good scenes, and I think they'd be great scenes in a different movie. It's just that they don't make any sense in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it just bit off more than it can chew. I think that's all that there is. You know, I think that's the overarching thing that we're gonna keep saying, because we've got like 7 minutes left or something crazy like that. And I'm okay not talking about this movie very long, believe me, especially because J Money and I probably don't remember it as well. The other thing, I mean, I wrote down this note about temporal relations, which I don't remember what that. I know what the phrase means, but I don't remember what my reference is there. I think did the film like just speed through time? You know, like was it hard to like get a sense on how much time had passed? Is that basically what I was thinking? Davy Joe, maybe you can answer that.
Oh yeah, but there were also you know, he's like, will you train me? And he's like, no, I don't train people anymore. And the next thing you knew, he did it. Like there was no
cutting corners in the editing room because they bit off more they can chew. I think almost all the issues with this movie stem from that issue. And I'm almost relieved, given that how upset my ex was, how much I liked it or didn't like it, that you guys also didn't like it. So I feel good about that. The other thing, sorry, Jay Money, go ahead.
I'm saying but we didn't date you, so we have a different perspective on this in general, I think.
So anyone that has dated me will like this movie. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that's not an improvement at the moment. I guess we have to take a little stock of the rest.
I mean, there's certainly someone you could ask and find out.
That's true. Maybe I'll follow up with this at some point.
Let's get a poll of everyone I've dated and find out where they stand on Hands of Stone.
Just don't tell him where it's at. Like, give him his address or.
No, nobody can know.
Anyway, so the other thing is missed opportunities. I feel like this movie, like there's all these things that the movie hinted at but didn't explore. And again, it didn't have time because it was focused on the wrong things potentially. But I thought it was really interesting how he never learned to read. I thought it was they never really covered, like Ray's supposed to be this great trainer, and I don't feel like they got enough boxing strategy involved. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
they couldn't do. I mean, there was no focus. They couldn't hone in on anything. So you're right. There's no detail of anything in this movie.
Yeah, because they just ran out of time and space, and it's always a balance to try how do you like boil down this life. But I mean, like it's mainly about his boxing career, and even some of the political stuff seemed unfocused, and like you were saying, might have been okay in its own movie, maybe. But I mean, like, I don't know, the Panama Canal thing's complex, and not as one-sided as Roberto Duran made it seem. And I don't want Davey to get into it now, like the legal ramifications. Of course, the other thing this movie had that is a big pet peeve of mine, J Money.
Voiceover.
Yeah, it was bad too. Like, it wasn't even like, there's a movie that I might talk about in the sound off that is the exception that proves the rule in terms of having a lot of voiceover. It's really good. This movie was bad voiceover, just bad.
You know, JB, I've gotten to the point where when we go to movies, or when I go to a movie that we're going to talk about, and I hear voiceover, I get excited because I know it'll be it's something that will definitely ding on. I know it's something that will definitely like alight you in some sort of like spark, you know.
But do you disagree with me?
I don't think voiceover as a rule bothers me as much as it bothers you. But in this case, certainly it sucked. I mean, there's really not a lot of positive out of the pile at this point, so. It certainly didn't help.
Well, I mean, like,
anything.
I feel like it. I mean, like, when it bothers me when it's used as a crutch. You know what I mean? When it's used as a Band-Aid to like for lazy writers to be like, I don't know how to visually show you this, so I'm really just going to tell you and rob you from the opportunity of experiencing it for yourself.
You know, I feel like they were trying to squeeze as much out of DeNiro as possible, and clearly they bit off more than they could chew with everything in this movie. I mean, there were just way too many. There was much too much time. There was way too many characters, and from my point of view, it was sort of like they couldn't figure out how to capture as much DeNiro as they wanted to, because clearly that would be like the star power here. So it maybe even later on tacked in this voiceover stuff because it helped kind of flesh out a little bit of his character.
And not only that, I mean, this is sort of a sidetrack, but I mean, like, I also feel like it lacked an honest perspective on Roberto Duran. Like, I just feel like, like there was like a bit of hero worship from the filmmakers, point of view, instead of like really like looking at this situation from an outside perspective. I don't want to say it was completely like rose-colored glasses as far as his life is concerned, but there was there was a reverence towards the subject, and the subject's flaws. But I mean, like, I'm not saying they paint him as a hero, but I mean, like, it didn't seem to have like a harsh perspective. It seemed like very one-sided in that regard. Am I off?
No, I think that this movie in general was incredibly formulaic, and there was so much broad stroke stuff in it. And one of the things that actually fights against the formula is that there was no closure to his narrative arc in a lot of ways. There was no real like point where he suddenly realized he was a terrible person and decided to do better. They kind of bounced around it a little bit. There was one scene he had with Sugar Ray where he sort of realizes he's being a dick. Right. But he doesn't actually do anything differently. He doesn't really change his character.
No, and the climax itself is kind of forced. Like, I don't like that. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like this is what happened. This is the true story. But I mean, like, it's not. Interesting enough as a third act.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about this boxer, and by far the most interesting aspect about his story to me was what was his last fight. I guess when he sort of bowed out. They should have just made a movie about that.
That's the second. Not his next to last fight, the No Mas.
Well, no, I mean he had a couple of comebacks.
Yeah.
The No Mas was
We'll turn to our boxing expert now.
Yeah, I mean the No Mas fight. I was waiting for the No Mas fight when the movie started. Because I was unsure, of the backstory to that. So that was kind of neat.
What the movie didn't cover is that there was in the early '80s an Uno Mas.
Yeah.
They fought again.
There were 3 fights, right?
Yeah,
and
the third one was
Uno. Just absolutely. Yeah.
The third one was Uno Mas.
Didn't Sugar Ray win 2 of them, and that's probably why they didn't want to get into it.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Well, let me ask you guys, because I mean, obviously, I'm not a big boxing person. Who was this movie made for? Was it made for boxing fans, or was it made for other people?
I think it was made for like older people.
Not like us.
I mean, like, no, well, maybe. I mean, maybe even a little older than us. I don't know. I mean, I think it was made for historian. Like, I think people thought would think it was an interesting story. I think it was made for like the same people that go to see regular dramas. I think it was made as Oscar bait type movie.
They fell flat on their face.
I'll say this.
But I mean, like this filmmaker Jonathan Jabowitz, I may be pronouncing his name wrong. I mean, like I don't know where he comes from. I don't know how he got a chance to make a movie this big. And I don't want to sound too many sour grapes, but it is frustrating because these are mistakes that he should have made on smaller films, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, did you guys?
I do want to. Let's go ahead.
Did you guys pick up on the fact that he didn't have enough to eat when he was a kid, and now that he was successful, he wanted to eat?
Yeah.
If you didn't pick up on it the time that Ray said it, you got to hear it again when he said it, and I thought it was such an important point that we needed to iterate it. It's not a good movie. It's not the worst movie I saw all year. We talked about that last time, but it's pretty bad.
But the movie we talked about last time was like J Money and I both liked it.
What was the movie we saw last time? Oh, Florence Foster.
Florence Griffith Joyner or something.
Already out. I can't even remember that far back. It's just gone. It's gone for me.
Anyway, I did find one person that I went to the movies with recently. I went to see a sneak preview of a film called Christine with Rebecca Hall, and the person I went with also hated Florence Foster Jenkins. But that's the only other person that I've met.
Oh,
the person that wrote Christine is a friend of a friend, so I'm actually really excited to see it at some point. But we can talk. You mean
the late Christine?
Yeah. No, the late Christine. No. The person that helped in the movie. The writer.
The writer of the movie. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Craig.
You know him?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So anyway, that's beside the point. We have precious little time, always running late as we do, but I need to talk about performances very quickly because the one shining light for me is I do think Robert De Niro returned, to actually caring about making movies again.
I agree. He's not doing comedy, and that's great.
Well, not only that, but I mean, I think he actually created a character here, like something I don't think he's done in a long time.
He was. I
mean, like the end of the year will determine whether or not it's Oscar worthy, but it definitely felt like he was a real three-dimensional character. There was detail, and it was the most interesting. Whenever he was on screen, that I was much more interested in the movie, and it felt like. Because I mean, like he checked out for a long time of movies. I mean, like it's not a secret, and it felt like this was a movie for whatever reason that he was actually interested in.
I don't know if I'd go as far with you on that one, but I think that he definitely put more effort into this role than he has in a long time, certainly.
I mean, there wasn't another performance in the movie that I liked. I thought Edgar Ramirez was kind of dull. I thought that Usher. I mean, he's not traditionally an actor. I mean, he was fine, I guess, but I mean, like, not terribly interesting, and certainly, did not compel me to be interested in him or his character, which is partially the screenplay. But there was nothing about his presence that I found particularly compelling. I mean, I don't think she was a terrific actress, but I was intrigued by Ana de Armas here. And now J Money is the least guyish of us, I think it's fair to say, in terms of like, I would say, like, is it fair to say that I'm the most Neanderthal of the three of us? Is that fair to say?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to prove it by just saying, I just feel like it on this, this subject in this venue, I just want to have a very guy moment and just say, as much as I dislike the movie, her breasts were like top 10 all time in terms of movie screen breasts.
Yeah.
I just feel like we can move past it. I just felt the need to say it right here and right now. I really appreciated that.
I'm not going to comment on that, but I will say that I thought she was pretty good though. I thought her performance was good. Like I said, getting back to the actual movie, I don't think the performances were bad.
He's just taking the high road. I'm just the fearless one.
The scenes were good. It's put together. It's not a good movie.
All right. Well, that pretty much sums it up, I guess. J Money, do you have anything else, or did I throw you off?
I guess honestly, I would say that her character bothered me on a lot of levels. I'm not going to blame her, the actress, for it. It's just that I feel like a lot of the earlier scenes were a little uncomfortably rapey, and then there was all these other scenes that sort of exploited her later on. I just didn't like what they did with her in general, and I think it was kind of detrimental to how I felt about her. But I think the actress probably has talent, and maybe we'll see it at some point in other movies.
Well, I hope that's true as well. She's in another movie too. When I was looking for pictures, I saw that she had something else coming, but I forgot what it was. But anyway, so I'm gonna wrap things up, guys. You cool?
Yep.
You were looking for pictures. All right.
I was looking for pictures. For the show. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna show pictures of her breasts for the show. I just thought you guys could appreciate this. You're guys, come on. We're all guys here. All right, speaking of guys, our next feature is The Girl on the Train. And believe it or not, after 45 days, we're going to try and sneak one in just 9 days. And what's even crazier about this is if it all works out, I will be in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, prepping for my next feature. So I'm flying out the 11th, and we're going to do a show on the 12th. I'll try and vlog or tweet from the movie theater, and also, from Lewisburg or whatever. Anyway, so that's going to be October 12th, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. But right now, in about 3 minutes, again, and we maybe 5, let's say, maybe we'll be a little bit late, but we got our indie spotlight coming up, and we're just going to talk about a documentary called The Interrupters, and that is next on the No Name Cinema Society.